Something very serious is happening in the world of real fur, and us, the real fur community, we need to talk about it. Etsy, one of the largest platforms, has just announced that they are banning the sale of real fur. Now, how did this happen? Why did it happen? And what does it mean for the future of real fur? We will talk all about it in this video. But before I start, I have to remind you, I'm about the only person left on the internet defending real fur. So, all right, let's get into it. First things first, we have to understand, what does Etsy have to do with real fur? For some of you who might live under a rock, Etsy is not a fashion brand or a clothing company. It is actually a marketplace. It is a massive online platform where independent sellers can list their products and connect with buyers all over the world. For millions of small businesses, Etsy is essentially their storefront. From vintage dealers, jewelers, textile artists, leather workers, antique collectors, people who often run their businesses from a studio or their basement. So when Etsy changes a policy or makes a decision like this, it does not affect a corporation or a brand. It actually affects thousands of individual artisans. For many, many years, Etsy has allowed the sale of real fur. The platform already had rules banning illegal wildlife products and items made from endangered species. But garments made from animals like mink, fox, rabbit, or coyote were allowed, especially vintage items. And FYI, vintage fur became a very significant category on Etsy. There were sellers who specialized in restoring older coats, repairing lining, cleaning and conditioning fur garments, and giving pieces that were sometimes 40, 50, or even 80 years old a second life. So in all of these cases, we're not talking about fast fashion here. We're talking slow, sustainable fashion. Now, let's talk about, how did this pressure to ban fur even start?
Here in Louis Vuitton, demanding a 100% fur-free policy, this disgusting brand is still allowing animals to be tortured, born into filthy, barren cages. They're anally electrocuted, and their fur is torn from their skin for a jacket. This is 2026. This is not acceptable. So we are here demanding a 100% fur-free policy. The animal rights movement will not be going anywhere until we get justice for the animals who are born into filthy, barren cages and tortured. If you do not commit to a 100% fur-free policy, we are not going to be leaving. We're not going to be anywhere. And this is what you can expect on your doorstep when you torture animals. We have had enough. We have had enough of trying to talk to people. We have had
Earlier this year, several activist organizations began putting direct pressure on Etsy to ban fur from the platform completely. They organized petitions, social media campaigns, and protests. Their message was very simple and very direct. We want real fur out of Etsy. They believe fur farming is cruel and that the platforms should refuse to sell real fur products. And in the current age of online activism, coordinated campaigns like that are extremely powerful and not to be underestimated. The campaign intensified when activists began showing up at public events connected to Etsy, including investor meetings. The idea was to put pressure on the company publicly in front of investors and the media. Once a platform becomes the target of a sustained campaign like that, the decision often becomes less about a single product category and more about public perception. Then, in April 2026, Etsy updated its animal product policy. The company announced that products made from animals killed primarily for their pelts will no longer be allowed to be sold on the platform. This includes fur coats, pelts, accessories made from animals such as mink, fox, or rabbit. The rule applies regardless of the fur's age or origin, meaning even vintage items or legally sourced fur are included in this prohibition. Some animal materials remain permitted, including leather, sheepskin, wool, mohair, and taxidermy. Etsy announced this policy in April 2026 with enforcement beginning 11th of August 2026. With this policy coming out, it has created a celebratory moment for all activists against real fur.
We gotta run and write a press release because
we just got Etsy to go for free.
Whoa!
Yeah!
Animal rights groups quickly celebrated the decision as a victory. For them, the ban represents progress. It is a signal that major companies are distancing themselves from the fur industry. And from their perspective, reducing places where fur can be sold is a step towards eliminating the fur industry completely. But the reactions from sellers is completely different.
Etsy has announced it will ban the sale of fur items on its site in August. The website is known as a hub for handmade items. The Fur Institute of Canada warns that the ban will impact Indigenous creators the most. Bianca McEwen reports.
Lisa Pottle was speechless when she first heard Etsy's new policy.
When you first told me, it was like, oh, and now it's like, oh, no.
Pottle runs the Etsy store Spirit Sisters by Lisa, where she makes jewelry with and fur. In an email sent out on April 2nd, Etsy announced it's banning the sale of fur as of August 11th, with the website saying this move is part of, quote, ongoing biodiversity efforts. Pottle sells around 15 items a month, with her shop being her only source of income.
I had recently purchased fur to start doing earrings with rabbit fur and foxtail, things like that. Oh man, yeah, I guess I'm very disappointed right now. That would be the main thing to call it.
She says she makes fur earrings because it's fun and makes her feel connected to her ancestors. Pottle is originally from Nunatsiavut, now living in Nova Scotia.
They use everything, including the fur, to clothe themselves. We like to use it as an expression about, our cultural heritage. And it sounds like it's being taken away and it's not fair.
Executive Director of the Fur Institute of Canada, Doug Chesson, is also speaking up about the new policy. He wrote an open letter to Etsy's CEO voicing his disappointment.
Any ban on fur products, any ban on sealskin products, we know that the impact of that is going to be most severely felt in remote Indigenous communities.
He says he's yet to hear back from Etsy on his letter, and he'd like to see the decision reversed. Etsy has not responded to CPC's requests for comment.
What this does is create, a further inconvenience, another hoop to jump through for artisans that are working with fur and with sealskin. And there are already a lot of hoops to jump through. We don't need another one.
Pottle says she's now looking to switch to selling on Shopify, but will continue selling fur earrings on Etsy until the ban comes into effect.
A lot of the people who are affected by this are not large fashion companies. They are vintage dealers, furriers, restoration specialists, collectors, people whose entire businesses revolve around preserving what already exists. And of course comes the argument of banning vintage fur does the complete opposite of sustainability. When you restore a garment that already exists, you're extending its life instead of throwing it away. And this is where the conversation gets very complicated. What is happening here has happened again and again in the online world. When these platforms change their policies, the same communities that came in and gave it a purpose and was selling their work now find themselves in a situation where they don't have a place to sell their work. And now these communities have to decide, what are they going to do next? Watching this fur Etsy situation unfold made me reflect on something. When a platform decides that their values no longer align with yours, you really have two options. Either you fight to stay, or you create your own platform. Instead of investing all this time, energy, and resources for Etsy to reverse its decision, why don't we do something of our own? So take this as an invitation. If you're an artisan watching this video, if you're someone who is a trapper, or someone who had a business on Etsy and is being affected by this, why don't we have this conversation together? Why don't we try to figure out what can we each bring to the table and create this platform? I feel like it will be something really powerful, and it would be a platform that's powered by this real material community. So I do have my email in the description box down below. Let's get together. If anyone has any ideas on how to proceed or ideas of creating our own real fur platform, please let me know down in the comments section below. I would love more than anything to help build it with the people who genuinely care about this craft. As always, keep wearing your real fur, keep staying real, even when the whole world wants to go faux and fast. Keep wearing your real furs, now more than ever. I'll see you guys in my next video. Ciao.